So Killua's gonna leave to go take the hunter exam, Gon is learning more and more about his abilities each day, and Genthru is just kind of unlikable.
Hunter x Hunter Episode 65, Evil Fist and Rock, Paper, Scissors.
Well, hello my brothers and sisters and hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and enchanting and mythically awesome-filled tale of Hunter x Hunter. Now, our last episode, of course, saw us with really the ending being, for me, what was the really cool part that left you hanging. That was the Phantom Troop approaching what we presume to be Greed Island by boat from the outside world, proving that, of course, it is not actually a game. It is actually just a part of our world, right, that nobody knows about. So that's where things left off, and that's actually where things pick up. And again, that was probably the most interesting part of the actual episode. They wind up, as they approach and get on shore and walk a few steps up the beach, a pretty big, muscular-looking figure appears and introduces himself as Razor, one of the game's creators. And he says that he handles a lot of the emitter abilities and things like that. So basically what this game is it's a fucking lie. That's what it is. You had people like Jing and this guy Razor and whoever else that created this game, but they basically went and took a secluded part of reality, this island or whatever, and then went and used their own abilities to go and place and enhance and do all these different things with spells and put all these conditions and rules on it for people to come into the game, which is actually just being teleported here, and then to, you know, play, never win, fucking die, which many of them do, and everything else. So to me, it just seems like a big old slap in the dick, you know. But anyway, he basically tells him, he's like, listen, he goes, either he's going to use this card that goes and transports him somewhere on the continent, you know, and but before he does that, he says, you can either fight me here. And obviously he has a strong ability. His abilities are off the charts. Finks even, you know, can sense that, right? But he can also sense, this Razor can also sense that the Phantom Troop have pretty powerful Nen abilities as well. And there's like 6 or 7 of them there. So anyway, he winds up going and saying, or you can go and you can come in through like the front door, the right channels of the game, you know, the correct channels, and then we can actually fight in game, you know, for an item or for whatever. So Finks says, yeah, that's cool. I'll fight you in the game. Yeah, Razor uses this card, transports them off, they're gone, right? And then this Razor goes and jumps up in the air after he makes this little ball appear, and he spikes it like a volleyball out into the water a few hundred meters to where this little yacht is that they were on, and blows it the fuck up. So this dude Razor, he's on some other level stuff, right? Anyway, and then we wind up getting some more training with Gon and Killua. And this was actually pretty cool because Gon has learned how to do a technique that he calls rock, where obviously he goes rock, paper, rock, and boom, when he can explode rock, you know. He wants to learn how to do a scissor ability as well as a paper ability. However, he lacks the necessary skills because those are emitter and transmuter abilities. However, through practice, he can learn them because he wants to obviously be able to fire things out of his hand using the paper ability, and he wants to be able to actually slice rock using the scissors ability. So, Killua winds up coming out and actually showing to Bisky as well as Gon his electrical power, and Bisky is thinking in her mind, what kind of fucked up childhood did this kid have that he knows how to go and use his Nen for electricity at this young of an age? He must have really been messed up on time. She goes, I'm amazed that he can even still smile. Those were her exact words, right? They wind up finding out, though, too, that in the game, which is actually, we know is just another part of the actual world, that time progresses as normal. So they've been in the game for months now, and it's coming back around the time of the New Year and the deadline for applying for the Hunter exam, which Killua wants to do. So Gon urges him to do so, and they wind up going and visiting Macedora and finding out how you can actually get out of the game by having a leave card, which is rare, or being able to just go to this dock and either bribing or beating up this captain. They choose to beat him up. Killua does, and says his goodbyes and sails away on a ship, and then eventually is able to get out of the game. It kind of goes back to the starting point, and that virtual reality chick asks him where he wants to go. He's going to transport to the harbor, and start the Hunter exam, right? Also, the Kikoro, I believe they were, the ones that the kind of changelings and what have you, that Leorio and Kurapika and Gon encountered in, I think, like the second episode, if I remember correctly. Gon tells Killua about them and says, hey, listen, tell them that you know me, and they'll help take you to the entrance to the exam, the beginning of it. So later on in the episode, we see Killua kind of chilling with them for a little bit and just kind of telling them some stories about Gon and everything else. And we know that thread is kind of doing its own thing now, right? The majority of the episode, though, focuses on this completely shitbag, unlikable character. And the reason that I say that is because this guy Genthru, and I actually said his name and I remembered it in here, the bomber. First of all, the guy looks like a dick with eyes, right? Okay, he just looks like a dildo in every sense of the word. But on top of that, he had zero character development whatsoever. So now all of a sudden we're supposed to just go and take him seriously as this mad bomber, because all of a sudden out of nowhere he revealed himself to be the mad bomber, and then this, this little boys club that was collecting cards, he's got them all strapped with bombs now. Regardless of how the situation winds up playing out, this guy, I think his name is Abengane, I think it is, if I remember correctly. I wrote it down, but I think it's pronounced Abengane. Anyway, Gon and Bisky wind up running into Abengane. He tells them the whole sad story about what happened, right? How everybody's got a bomb on them, and if they don't go and give up their binder with the cards in it and everything like that, they're going to kill everybody. But if they do, and he's actually not a piece of shit, and he's not lying about it, then him and his other two cohorts are going to magically touch their fingers together and disarm the bombs for everybody, right? So, nonetheless, Gon feels for everybody. He seems to be a helpful type of person when he can be, and he wants to know what can they do and this and that. And really, the guy is not asking for anything except for to kind of avenge them, like, hey, you'll probably eventually run into this guy. If you run into anybody else, tell them about the bomber, who he is, that he's this Genthru guy. And then, of course, if we all die, avenge our deaths, right? And then you wind up going and you see the leader, and I forgot his name because, again, another character that was just not fleshed out, not given any background, not very likable. These characters are all very weak and weak-minded and just very simple in their way of doing things. He winds up actually going and coming out of the game to go and actually meet with Genthru and his other two cohorts, right? And then he goes and he says, Genthru says, well, give me your ring, so you can, of course, enter the game and then have his cards that he had, right? And he says, no, you need to disarm the bombs first. And this Genthru says, hell no, you gotta fear me, right? Because I'm wearing a suit. He actually looks like Fred from Scooby-Doo. He's got like a white shirt on that sort of is like a trench coat shirt, but he's got like this blue ascot tied around it and everything, and the blonde hair, and he looks like Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo. So it doesn't strike a lot of fear into my heart, So this winds up going back to this Abengane or whatever, and he goes and he apparently he's a conjurer, and he winds up conjuring up this like weird sort of like fat shit Jabba the Hutt like worm to actually go and eat the bomb off of him, right, and take that away from him. And then apparently this thing is going to hang around him, and even after it eats the bomb, until it can go and reverse. The way it was summoned and the condition it was summoned under is that it had to basically disarm the bomb or all the bombs, or I guess take out Genthru or his powers once his power or spell wasn't being used. I didn't quite get all of it, but again, to me, it's not. I guess it just wasn't a point of interest, even though I know it's going to be a main point in the story. It just, to me, it's not very interesting. But anyway, we wind up going, and as that's happening, Genthru and his two cohorts have beamed back into the game, and of course are checking, that binder to make sure that all the cards are in there. There's like 83 of the slotted cards, blah, blah, blah. So then everybody's like, oh, great, you're going to release us, right? And they're like, yeah. And they put together their little fingers, their little thumbs together, and they're like, 3, 2, 1, release, right? And what happens? Oh, everybody's bombs blow up on them, How anally predictable could that be? What was the point in killing everybody? What? So there's nobody to talk and tell them that you're the bomber? Again, just not a. It's not. I shouldn't say he's not a likable character, because he's not, and that's fine. You want your enemies or your villains to be unlikable, but this guy is just he's like stupid unlikable to me. He's just not somebody that I care for when I see. And again, just reminds me of Fred from Scooby-Doo. So as they wind up doing this and, of course, killing everybody, even though that wasn't the deal, you know, I guess you can't trust a piece of shit like that to begin with. So I guess the whole thing to begin with just sort of irritates me because 10 years this game's been around. Nobody's ever completed it. You got this, you know, Batera going and spending billions to go and buy up copies of the game to go and send people in, many to their death. Some just wind up liking it and hanging out in there, right? And nobody's completed the game. I don't even think anybody's come close to completing it. And then you go and you get these groups, this particular group of a bunch of weak-ass shits that shouldn't even be in the game to begin with. And so they're all going to team up to go and collect the cards. And right as they're about to get done and they're in the final stretch of it, all of a sudden they find out that working with them right under their nose for 5 years was this piece of shit that's the bomber, right? And so I guess that's the whole part that it's not drawing me in as far as a plot device goes. I know that it's going to wind up being something of interest. I know that Gon's going to wind up probably having to fight him at some point or whatever, maybe to get out of the game. I don't know. Don't really care at this point either. What I am enjoying, though, is certainly the progression of Gon and Killua, as well as this Razor meeting these members of the Phantom Troop, finding out that Greed Island is actually a part of civilization. You know what I mean? It's actually a part of, like, our world, or their world, whatever I guess you want to say. But really, what it winds up being is the end of the episode. I thought was pretty cool. Gon is training in the middle of an open field with Bisky, and he actually is able to, even though it's just very small, he's able to actually use the paper technique with this small bubble. And she's explaining to him, and she's basically, you know, I mean, obviously she's his mentor, right? She's his Mr. Miyagi, his cute, old as fuck Mr. Miyagi, right? And I shouldn't say old as fuck. 57's not old as fuck, but it's old. It's parental age, you know. I think one of my parents is 50. Something, I don't know. Anyway, again, besides the point, sorry about that. Get off the beaten path sometimes. So, but all in all, a very cool episode. Even though there's some parts that I wasn't too fond of with this Genthru and that whole storyline, it obviously is all connecting for a bigger picture in what's going on within Greed Island, and is important, I guess, to the overall story that there is. So, I definitely did enjoy it, as I do with all of them, because of really the animation and many of the characters that are in there. Just don't love every aspect of every episode, and this for me was one of them where there was a few parts that I could have been like, I could have glanced over that one, you know. But all in all, just very, very excited to get into the next one, so, and see what the hell's going on. And of course, Killua at the end is starting his training, you know, or his he's gonna breeze through the hunter exam, as he says it, so he can get back and do more training. So very cool to see that he's gonna go and complete that as well and become an official hunter. Or at least I hope he will. So that's where things leave off in the episode. My episode question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is what are your overall thoughts on the plot line with Genthru? You know, do you think that he's a good character? I mean, just let me know what your thoughts are on it. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it's kind of lame? But let me know what your thoughts are, though, brothers and sisters, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to my other channels.